What did Mr. Carney in his role as Trudeau's economic advisor offer China? Why would he be having secret meetings?
Wow, the news today. Welcome back to Moose and Loose. My name's David. Today, we've got Pierre Poilievre absolutely exposing and obliterating Mark Carney, blasting him on his connections to Xi Jinping and China. Now, this comes in retaliation to the Globe and Mail running a hit piece on Pierre Poilievre, the Liberals trying their best to stir up support for this, security clearance, all this kind of stuff. We also got Sean Fraser is now back in the mix. He's kicked out the Liberal in Nova Scotia so he can take the seat because Mark Carney wants him back on the team. We got Mark Carney snapping at a reporter, a bunch of other stuff. Let's jump into this. So first up, we got this one from Canada Proud. This is coming from the Nanos poll just the other day, yesterday. I thought this is interesting because it's showing the breakdown here. So the only people really voting Liberal are the 60 plus crowd, everyone else voting Conservative. This election may come down to the 18 to 29s. I think Pierre needs to get on a couple of TikTok accounts. I don't know what the most popular ones are for this age group, but he should go do a couple quick meetings with those people. They wouldn't be these long podcasts. Go meet with them, shoot a quick video. This group and this group, they need to come out strong for the Conservatives to defeat the Liberals here. We got this from Table Salt here. Poilievre increases tax-free limit on new home purchases up to $1.3 million. New home purchases, he's removing the GST. He's increased this up to $1.3 million. Our situation here with the housing is terrible, but Poilievre is doing his best here. It has to be slowly fixed and slowly worked down, and these are the kind of policies we need to fix it. We got this one here. I'm not going to play this full 3-minute video of Trump, but I just wanted to point out Donald Trump has come out and said he's canceling tax on all overtime effective Monday. This is one of his campaign promises following through. This is something we need in Canada. We got this one, Cat Canada posting the Globe and Mail article here showing letters to the editor, March 25th. I am a Conservative, but will be voting Liberal. This is propaganda. What Conservative would be voting Liberal? If you went all across Canada trying to find this unicorn and then put them on an article in Globe and Mail, good luck. This is just part of a smear job. Check out this next clip. At the end of Mark Carney's event here, his press conference, he tries to end it. Reporters still want to ask questions. He notably is aggravated and snaps. Look at this.
Meeting with the United Kingdom. So with that, thank you for your questions. And
Merci.
Are you,
Merci,
are you the last local person? Can we? Okay, I feel that, yeah.
2 minutes, please.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Carney.
Yeah, I'm going to let.
Very quick, Mr.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm Jacob Moore with Acadia Broadcasting. We have stations in parts of the province that really rely on fisheries. And being sandwiched between the tariffs from China and the U.S., what will you tell people who rely on that, who are worried about their jobs disappearing?
Well, look, we're going to fight. We're going to fight for the fishery. We're fighting for a sustainable fishery.
He's fighting for sustainable fishery and not meeting with the fishermen. This guy's a liar and a loser. Next up, I got an update here from this video I showed you guys on the previous one, the morning video. So this lady here who claimed to be a journalist who said, oh, that's not Mark Carney in this photo here. Turns out, you know who this lady is? She is a journalist or was a journalist. If we hop over to this website here, the Senate of Canada, and scroll to the bottom, there she is. It's Pamela Wallen, Saskatchewan Senator. This Pamela Wallen here, she has 14 honorary doctorates and was named into the Canadian Broadcasting Hall of Fame. Yet, that's not Mark Carney in the photo. No, his chin, his face is a little too long, right? She knows best. This is embarrassing. This is also embarrassing. Now, a bunch of you were saying, oh, she probably worked at the CBC as a joke. She, in fact, worked at the CBC, says Wallen openly expressed frustrations within the CBC newsroom. We're not going to get into the whole thing. Moving on to this smear piece here. So we've got CBC, a whole bunch of places running this. Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre refuses to get his security clearance, is back in the spotlight as campaign trail following reports CSIS learned that India helped organize support for his leadership bid. Convenient that CSIS just happened to find this now. Years later. Come on, guys. So we look here, we've got Stephen Guilbeault reposting this Globe and Mail article. This coming from Robert Fife at the Globe and Mail. Mark Miller, a former minister, also reposting this, of course, trying to get his digs in on Poilievre. Liberal Party doing their best here. This is all they got. They're trying to make this seem like India had some sort of involvement. Pierre Poilievre won in a landslide victory for his leadership bid. So Mark Carney was asked about this today.
I find it beyond baffling. I find it downright irresponsible that the leader of the opposition, day after day, month after month, year after year, refuses to obtain his security clearance. As a normal course in peacetime when times were tranquil. That's unacceptable then. But at this point in our history, when we face the greatest threats that we've faced in generations, in most of our lifetimes, he has to answer for that. And he particularly has to answer for that, given the reporting that I understand you did, you and your colleagues did today.
This is all trash as usual. Release the names of the traitors. We're going to the polls. We don't know who the traitors are in our government. You got to wonder too, when they shut down these factories for this, do they pay this factory a full wage for the day? Because I can't see them shutting down an entire facility just so Mark Carney can blabber his mouth and flap his lips. CSIS assessment did not indicate that this effort has been done in a sweeping and highly organized way. CSIS also did not have evidence that Mr. Poilievre or members of his inner circle were aware of alleged actions of India's agents. If anyone's interested in the article here, I'll link it up. As per usual, Globe and Mail, it's behind a paywall. Now, Stephen Taylor unwound this one here. As he says here, he won with 68% support on the first ballot. He followed all the campaign laws and regulations. Poilievre refusing a politically controlled security clearance protects the ability to hold the government accountable. Canadians expect open debate, not silence imposed by Prime Minister's office. That's exactly what that Cpac security clearance is. As Bratani posted here, so CSIS spent years being ignored by the Liberals about foreign interference, which we have seen in the past, but didn't try to notify Poilievre until the election was called. Who is this source and how much were they paid to say this to the media and no one else? This is absolute ripe garbage. But with that, we've got Pierre Poilievre clearing the air here and absolutely destroys Mark Carney.
First of all, let's quote from that Globe and Mail article. I'm going to quote here. CSIS also did not have evidence that Mr. Poilievre or members of his inner circle were aware of these alleged actions. Then I'm going to quote the Hogue Commission, and I quote, "The commission heard testimony about allegations of the government India interference in the Conservative Party leadership race. CSIS witnesses noted that they had no reason to believe the impacted candidates would have been aware of the alleged support." Let's be honest. I won the leadership fair and square. Even my political competitors, like Mr. Patrick Brown, have publicly testified under oath that that was the case. I'm glad that the Liberals put this attack out today. Really glad. Because there's something that's really been worrying me. After Justin Trudeau named Mark Carney his economic advisor, giving him massive power over public policy in Canada, Mr. Carney went over for meetings in Beijing where he just had secret talks with the deputy governor of the Chinese central bank. 2 weeks later, Brookfield got a $250 million loan. What did they talk about? What did Mr. Carney in his role as Trudeau's economic advisor offer China? Why would he be having secret meetings with top government-controlled bankers about getting a $250 million loan while he was supposed to be acting in Canada's interest as the Prime Minister's economic advisor? Why would he be collaborating with a hostile foreign regime that we have since learned executed 4 Canadians and took numerous Canadians hostage for a lengthy period of time? And given that Mr. Carney knows that he still owns massive financial interests in Brookfield, which owes a $250 million to a Chinese state-controlled bank, how do we know he's not going to act against our interests in favor of his financial interests? Why didn't he stand in front of this microphone and confess to Canadians that he owes the Chinese government that kind of money? Is this why he's covering up his financial interests? And given that China has murdered our people, taken our people hostage, how is he ever going to stand up to foreign interference when he is so financially compromised?
I should note too, Brookfield has about $3 billion worth of real estate in China. So they're directly working with China. They're buying their real estate. They're also getting loans. There's too many financial ties there. And how that works is those state-funded banks, they're all directly connected and controlled by the Chinese Communist Party. So if Xi Jinping wants to do something, pull some strings, he can. And Brookfield knows it. That's why they got into bed with him, because then they would get some kickback, some help later down the road. Pierre came locked and loaded for this question. He's been waiting for this moment, and this is him pulling out the bazooka and just blowing away Mark Carney.
We have never in our history had a weak, out-of-touch leader so terribly compromised and conflicted, whose interests go against our national interests. And I call on Mr. Carney right now to come before a microphone today and explain if this loan is still in place and if he still has those Brookfield assets that he had up until a few weeks ago, because we cannot trust someone. Could you imagine, while you're supposed to be advising Canada's Prime Minister on the well-being of our economy, going to a foreign regime that had executed Canadian citizens, taken Canadians hostage, that it had already been public that they had interfered in multiple elections. They've done incursions into our northern waters. Mark Carney will never be able to protect our national interests because he has massive financial conflicts of interest overseas. What we need now is not to give the Liberals a fourth term with a weak and compromised leader. What we need is a prime minister who will put Canada first for a change.
Checkmate. Mic drop. So much for security clearance. We have a prime minister who's been actively having secret meetings with the Communist Party of China. Dirty financial ties. How will the Canadian public respond to this? That's the question. Do they want to compromise government?
Wait.
Look at this. How often do you see people in the back giving an applause to a response to a question? So next up, they asked Poilievre again about security clearance. These reporters here are despicable. So he goes on and says more of the same thing we just heard. But in this response, he does say some other stuff here about halfway through.
When he owes them so much. And I won't be silenced on any of those issues. I look forward to hearing Mark Carney's answers. And I hope that Canadian media actually starts asking him some questions about the nature of Brookfield's holdings. It really is incredible. The media has had some of this information, and I look forward to them actually asking questions. We have a guy who's prime minister who's never been elected to anything. He's the most unscrutinized leader our country has ever had, and he's by far the most conflicted. We're putting it out ourselves from now on, by the way. This is a guy whose company denied coal miners his insurance arm and denied coal miners their payments when they were dying of black lung in the States. They lost in court. The company lost in court. How is he ever going to stand up for working class people when that's the track record he has? He used renovictions, predatory financialization of real estate. How is he ever going to fix our housing crisis when that is his background? I've said in the past that he's just as bad as Justin Trudeau. Frankly, he's much worse, and he's much more conflicted.
He really is much worse. I mean, the renovictions, that's the NDP's angle there. The awful situation with coal miners, the direct connection to Xi Jinping, China, dirty Chinese money, net zero, G-fans, the now collapsing British economy.
And he's going to be held accountable. On the debate, well, his excuses are changing from day to day. Mark Carney says he doesn't want to debate because there's a fee. Well, I'll pay the fee. He says that he doesn't want to debate because Elizabeth May has not been invited. Well, I'll invite her. So let's invite Elizabeth May. I'll pay the fee. So Mark Carney can't afford to pay $75,000. Conservatives are generous. We'll pay for him. But if he's still too weak and fragile to debate at TVA, then he's too weak and fragile to stand up to Donald Trump and for our country.
That's another mic drop right there. I'll show you the clip after this one, but Mark Carney said, well, Elizabeth May's not invited, so we can't do the debate. This is just making Carney look like an absolute fool.
The debate is simple. Do we want a fourth Liberal term after the lost Liberal decade, or do we want a new Conservative government that will put Canada first for a change? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Canada first for a change. That's right. That was a pretty good presser. Yeah, that was an absolute bombshell presser.
I said that, why not if we have a debate with all of the leaders of the parties? I now realize that the leader of the Greens were not invited. There are two leaders of the Green Party, as you know. As well, we have the debates, which I look forward to, overseen by the Electoral Commission in French and in English. The 16th and 17th are the dates. I look forward to those debates.
Here's Poilievre, another part from that press conference blasting him.
Now, before I do that, though, I want to just say that I want to challenge Mark Carney to show up for the debate at TVA in Cpac. He's running away and hiding because he believes that he's too weak to defend the lost Liberal decade or explain why he thinks Liberals deserve a fourth term. Let's have a debate in French where we put together the choice. either a fourth Liberal term after costs and crime have gone up and our economy has gone down under the American thumb, or putting Canada first for a change with a new Conservative government that will build the homes. I'll even pay Mr. Carney's fee so that he can show up. We'll take that excuse away from him. Conservatives will even pay the fee to bring him out if he's not afraid. And by the way, if he is afraid to have the debate, how is he going to have the courage to stand up against Donald Trump? It's going to take someone who's strong enough to do that. And if he's not afraid, then he'll show up at that debate.
This is just absolutely despicable. They're having to twist the arm of the prime minister, current prime minister, to come out and debate. I should note, too, my previous video, I kept on saying TVP. It's TVA, the name of the Quebec broadcaster. TVP is like texturized vegetable protein. Sounds like a good nickname for Mark Carney. Moving ahead, look what we got. It's Evan Solomon. The video I did a couple days ago. This is the art dealer guy, former CBC host who was fired. Now one of the Liberals running to be part of Mark Carney's caucus.
Join us. Elbows up. Join us. Elbows up.
You know, elbows up, that's a dirty tactic. You potentially cause serious damage to a person. Why are they basing their whole slogan off of dirty tactics and trauma to the head? It's stupid. It's so stupid. What's also stupid is this. CTV is bringing on Rachel Gilmore as a fact checker. I'm not making this up. Be careful where you get your information.
Yeah, if you want to make an informed decision, it's best not to do it on mis or disinformation. Journalist Rachel Gilmore, it's been great to have you on your morning, and I want to let everybody know you're going to join us every week throughout this campaign for a Fact Check Friday. We're going to take a closer look at what's been said throughout the week on the campaign trail. You're going to fact check it for us every Friday. Can't wait for that. Thanks so much, Rachel.
I am so excited.
Yeah, if you want to...
This is insane. This is their fact checker. This woke far left lunatic. This is so embarrassing for CTV. It is. This is disgraceful. CBC, CTV Global continue to lose viewers. That's why. This is the same Rachel Gilmore they're bringing on as a fact checker.
Hey, everyone. Thanks for having me. This is obviously a very important topic, and I have some big feelings about it.
Okay. Alrighty. Moving on. So Sean Fraser, remember him? Gumby? Oh, he's back. That's right. You remember how he stepped down for his family? It's all about his family. It wasn't the horrendous polling numbers. He jumped ship, I believe, at the beginning of December. It was the same day that Chrystia Freeland dropped her bombshell on Justin Trudeau. So middle of December. As Marty Up North points out here, 3 months ago, Sean Fraser announced he was retiring from politics to spend time with his family. Amazing what a dead cat bounce on polls will do. I guess his family can wait a bit longer. Isn't that the truth? So we got Pierre Poilievre here calling him out on that.
Today, the worst immigration minister in the history of the country, who also happens to be the worst housing minister in the history of the country, Sean Fraser, announced that after 10 years helping bring about the lost Liberal decade, he will be running again for Mark Carney. So you're going to have the same Liberal ministers, the same Liberal MPs, the same Liberal strategists, making the same Liberal promises as they did to bring about the housing crisis if they're elected for a fourth term. Mr. Fraser was the one that brought the Century Initiative into immigration policy, a policy designed to increase our population to 100 million. With this massive uncontrolled population growth, he helped contribute to creating this crisis in the first place. And now Mark Carney and the Liberals say that he should be back.
Not only to mention, Mark Carney's brought on Mark Wiseman, one of the co-creators of the Century Initiative, as an advisor. He's bringing all these Century Initiative guys in. What do you think is going to happen to the housing prices? It's going to get worse.
The reason all of this is the reason why I announced about 7 or 8 months ago that a Conservative government would put our country first by eliminating GST on all homes up to $1 million. I then brought that idea to the House of Commons in a motion, and 100% of Liberal MPs voted against it. They unanimously opposed the idea, and they could have done it. They could have implemented it. Mr. Carney even could have implemented it last week before he called the election. They did not. If they're elected to a fourth term, they will never do it. But the problem has gotten even worse since I made that announcement. Now, $1 million is not enough to get the average home in many markets. It's almost surreal, isn't it? You know, 10 years ago, $1 million would have got you a castle on a mountain overlooking a valley of gold. 10 years ago, $1 million home was for the extremely rich. Now, these homes like this, often go for more than $1 million. It is astonishing. It's almost hallucinogenic how badly the Liberals have destroyed our housing market, and with it, the Canadian promise.
Even when I live out in Vancouver Island in the middle of Timbuk nowhere, houses used to be $100,000 to $150,000, $200,000 for most homes. This is going back just to the beginning of Trudeau's reign of terror 8 or 9 years ago. Today, these exact same homes are $500,000. Canadians' paychecks have not doubled, more than doubled, 2.5 times in that time. In fact, Canadian paychecks have probably gone down, not up. Now Mark Carney, though, wants to bring in a couple key members who helped make that happen. Mark Wiseman, Sean Fraser, to put the final nail in the coffin for Canada.
But we have to adapt. As Liberals make problems worse, Conservatives push further to make things better. And that's why, in acknowledging the Liberal housing crisis has worsened since October, I'm announcing that a new Conservative government will put Canada first by taking GST, the federal sales tax, off of all homes under $1.3 million. We will axe the tax so that every Canadian can buy a new home tax-free.
Yeah, so I showed that earlier. This is where he made that announcement. These are all steps to try to fix the housing crisis here. It's a real mess, though. The biggest win is going to be coming from reducing immigration drastically to numbers we can actually absorb. Next, we've got Mark Carney here with the announcement of Sean Fraser coming back into the mix.
Colleagues just reported that Sean Fraser has changed his mind and will be taking the nomination in Central.
Look at this greasy smile on his face when she asked that. Look at this. He had the kind of stoic face, and then look at that just creepy Count Chocula. I almost think of him the Grinch. He looks kind of like the Grinch.
Colleagues just reported that Sean Fraser has changed his mind and will be taking the nomination in Central Nova Scotia. Why do you think it's justified to allow former politicians to take a nomination when another candidate has already been named?
First thing, Sean Fraser is an exceptional public servant, and he took a decision for family reasons, to withdraw from public life, and I respected that. I regretted it, but I respected it. I and my colleagues have wanted Sean Fraser to come back and serve Canada at this crucial time. Sean stepping up for our country, if that indeed is what he's going to announce later today, and I don't know that's the case, if that indeed is what he's going to announce later today.
This guy's such a liar. Of course he knows what's going on.
Today is exceptionally good news for Canada, and it is a symbol. It's another sign, rather, of what you see behind me with these great candidates, and we see across this country, of exceptional people stepping up for the Liberal Party at the country's time of need.
Sean Fraser is one of the worst politicians in Canadian history.
And I think you'll find that everyone in the Liberal Party in Central Nova, including prospective candidate, is thrilled if Sean is indeed going to be our candidate, but you'll have to wait a few more hours to find that determination.
Thank you.
They didn't even acknowledge the person who's got tossed out. The candidate they threw in the garbage was Graham Murray. Just look at this. So this is Graham Murray's X account. You can see he's been out here meeting people, campaigning, doing all the hard work. And then Sean Fraser comes in and steals it. Well, if you look down towards the start of his X account, he started at the beginning of the campaign. Look who it is. It was great catching up with Sean Fraser. This is on the 10th, so this is about 2 weeks ago. Little did Graham Murray know that Sean Fraser would come in and steal all of his hard work, just mug him of it. This is absolutely despicable. Does Graham Murray's life not matter? Obviously, I'm not a Liberal supporter, but it's like, this is how they treat their own people. How do you think they're going to treat us? This was a big day for Pierre. We have the left coming out with this report, the security clearance, CSIS, trying to make Poilievre look bad, and he dropped an absolute bombshell on Mark Carney, exposing his dirty ties with Xi Jinping. We have already had a compromised government for the past 9 years. We do not need another minute more of this crap. Canadians aren't stupid. The people are voting Conservative.